Just ask Coach.
Welcome to Just Ask Coach. This is your host, Keith Cochran, and I'm here with my broadcast partner, Joe Nicholson. And today's guest is the legendary coach, Richard Walker. Rich is a Hall of Fame coach, a mentor, a proud husband and father. And Rich, we're glad to have you on, man, as our first official guest of the Just Ask Coach show.
Well, man, thank you so much. All those kind words. The check is in the mail, man. I'm just like, wow. That's quite an introduction. Thank you.
Well, Richard or Rich, whichever one you prefer. I know your friends and family call you Rich, so we'll do that. So tell us a little about your background, where you were born at, when you first fell in love with the game of basketball, and how basketball took you to places that you never thought you could go.
Wow, that's three great questions.
Right.
Born in New York City, my early remembrances is being in a high rise. And at the time, I didn't know where it was, but I was with my uncle and aunt. My parents were trying to make it in show business. And this was, well, obviously it was in the 50s, but I looked down and they were playing basketball, and I asked my uncle what was going on. He said, those are the best basketball players in the world. It was their apartment was overlooking Rutgers.
Okay.
And I had no idea, I didn't know. Anyway, we were there, and that's my first recollection of basketball, sitting in the window and watching the guys play and all that. But my parents were musicians. My mother was kind of she had a ruler, and when you played the wrong note, she hit your hand. So my time with the piano and all that was short because I did not enjoy getting hit on the knuckles as a child. But she was an excellent teacher. As a matter of fact, she was piano, organ, and harp. She was the first black female or person to graduate from Cass Technical High School in Detroit, being able to play the harp.
So tell me, when was your first time that you got on the court as a young kid that where you was able to play and you said, I want to go back the next day?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was maybe the sixth grade. I think I was the last person selected because I was taller than most of them. And me and this other fella, and they selected him before me. And I was basically the last person selected. And it was just a great feeling. I got to make a basket, got to rebound, got to do things that I never even thought I could do. And so it had to be that sixth grade experience. And from that, our coach was, his name was Chuck Adams, and he played at Florida A&M. And the community I grew up in is Inkster, which is right outside of Detroit. And it had one of the first black communities. Everything around Detroit was automotive, so
Right.
most of the people there were auto workers or teachers, and it was just it was a great place to grow up. But one of the things that happened is I was really in love with baseball, and then as I got older, I just got I was 6'3". And when you're taller, everybody expects you to play. When you're younger, they don't expect you to play football. They think tall guys should play basketball. It had to be the sixth grade in answer to your question.
Did you have a point in your basketball career where you made the decision to say, this is something that I think I want to do long term?
Yeah, there was. And my dad was he was a great athlete. He could run and swim and throw and was just really a good athlete, but he never played organized sports, other than intramurals in high school. He went to Northwestern High School in Detroit. And they lived, his family, there were 8 of them. and they lived on the west side there, by the Olympia, which is where the Red Wings played, but Northwestern right behind that. So that's where they grew up, and my mother grew up not far from there. So um, uh, basically, for me, my dad, he said, "Son, you'll never be able to make a living with that basketball. You should try baseball." And I said, "Dad, I'm telling you, this is what's happening." And as you guys know, in the late '60s, people that look like us got more of an opportunity to play basketball. So in high school, this was during the time when Spencer Haywood had come up from Silver City, Mississippi, and he was in Detroit Public Schools. Will Robinson was his coach at Pershing High School, and we all thought he was the next, cometh of whoever. And so we grew up during that period of time, and Pershing had Coach Robinson, but they had Spencer, they had Ralph Simpson, who went to Michigan State, who was just a great shooter, and they dominated high school basketball in the Detroit metropolitan area for 2 years, and that was in the late 60s, 66, 67. And we thought Spencer's brother Leroy went to Bowling Green, and so Cliff Williams, a lot of really great Detroit name players were attending Bowling Green, and so it was my last visit, and I happened to go on a visit, and my partner and I, we played together in high school. And that's when the bug really got me. And from that point, I mean, high school, it was a Detroit suburb, 25 a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, that kind of stuff. But I was a late bloomer. I got better. See, I got better as time went on. And I think my story in terms of playing basketball was a kind of story, because that summer, my coaches told me, my dad told me, if you want to be great, you got to work at it. So I got up every morning and went to the high school. The janitor opened the gym for me. I was in there every day, shooting jump shots in the morning, and then I come back in the afternoon or the evening. And that's really how it happened for me. And my first couple of years, back then you couldn't play freshman, and you played 3 years. My sophomore year was just an okay, typical sophomore year. But that following year, my junior year, is when it all started to come together.
Hey, so you talked about some great legendary high schools in the Detroit area.
Yeah.
I heard you mention Northwestern.
Right.
I heard you mention Pershing.
Right.
And then people, did you hear he tried to sneak that in? He said 25, 8, and 8.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? now that's some hooping right there,
Well, you had to be all around. Back then, you had to, they talk about, and you guys have played and coached, so they talk about two-way player. Well, you had to be a two-way player back. You had to play defense. You had to pass the ball, and you had to be able to put it in the hole. And so I just had a good all-around game, because I didn't mind working. I'll be real honest with you. I got better because I outworked people. I outworked people. By the time I left Bowling Green in 1971, there were 2 players drafted in the NBA draft from Mid-American Conference. Craig Love, who was 6'9", and me. And Cleveland drafted, and then Indiana Pacers in the ABA. So I signed with the Pacers, and the deal with Cleveland really was simple. Fitch was the coach and general manager. Nick Maletti had hired him, and we had played 2 games to get basketball really excited in Cleveland. And we played against Niagara. Calvin Murphy was the leading scorer in the nation. which to this day he's the best player I ever played against because he went by me so fast. I was like, goodness. I thought I was, pretty good. Man, that dude was unbelievable. And the first year, Skip Harrison had to guard him, and Skip was drafted by Seattle and did real well. Played a few years in the league, and was a legendary coach in Seattle. And then I had to guard him that next year, which was there was a total mismatch. I mean, that dude was, man, he was. And the thing, he was so athletic. The thing about him was he was the number one baton twirler in the United States at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how athletic this guy was.
Yeah.
And he could dunk at 5'6", 5'7". So, my career in that time was really a wonderful time for basketball and African American men, quite frankly, because we were given opportunity to play. A lot of times there would be one or two on the court at one time, and this is you got to remember this is when David Lattin and Texas Western beat Kentucky, the all-white Kentucky team for the national championship. So these historic years in terms of the culture, and I can speak to that a little later, but those were some wonderful times. We were going through civil rights, Kent State, Jackson State. There were just a lot of things happening, and it was a historic time to be living, quite frankly, kind of like we're going through now, now it's a little worse, but right.
Great, yeah.
What's going on, what was going on back then, because, in Detroit, there were some riots. I forget what year that was, but we experienced that, and now Detroit is bouncing back now, thanks to a lot of economic help and a very resilient and great city, and the people. I mean, you look at cities are judged by their teams, really. The Cavs are doing well. The Browns hopefully are doing well. I think they just got to turn a corner. And then the Indians, I thought, overachieved like heck this year and did really well. And I can say the same about the Detroit teams. The Tigers, the Pistons are doing better or well, and the hockey team's back, and the Lions, I don't know, they got a chance, man.
They do.
Terrific job.
Hey, so Rich, you talked about Spencer Haywood, Calvin Murphy, yourself. Who are some of the other players in that era or in the MAC that you played against during those times?
Well, the first person that I would say, and who I thought was really the best, was George Gervin. George went to Martin Luther King, and what happened, my mother taught at Martin Luther King. So she was there for 30 plus years. So I obviously, just over the dinner table, I always heard about everybody at that school. And George was just, one day he was 6'2", and the next day he was 6'8". And he was a guard. He was 6'8" guard that all of a sudden had this really long body. So I thought he was the best player that I had ever played against because he was long. You couldn't stop him, and he had just a can't miss bank shot and jump shot that was just crazy good. So Al Bianchi, who had given me a tryout, I got waived from the Pacers, and Al Bianchi gave me a tryout. He was a coach and general manager at that time, and so George was doing so well at Eastern Michigan, and Eastern was NAIA still back then. And I know you're aware of Earl Boykins and all those guys from the Cleveland area who went there. But Eastern was was a very good school and had done a great job of recruiting. Matter of fact, that was one of the schools that I was considering, but they weren't in a conference. They were still NAIA and NC2A. So, but anyway, they went on to the national championship, and George played in that. I mean, he basically led them there. But they had Earl Higgins, and they just had so much talent on that particular team. They were just really good. And I might say, and I'm sure you would know this, Keith, Dutcher, the coach at San Diego State's dad was the coach. His name was Jim Dutcher.
Okay.
He did so well. It catapulted him to Minnesota, and he was a long time Michigan assistant, and then he became the head coach at Minnesota. So,
wow. And see, that's interesting because I didn't know that Eastern Michigan wasn't in I
and NAIA.
yeah. Before
Yeah.
that, because I thought they was in the MAC too, but that's just speaking on from what I'm hearing, the MAC had to be one of the toughest conferences in the country at that time.
Back then, we were very, very good team wise, and we had good representation every year in the NC2A tournament. And prior to that, Nate Thurmond, who was from Akron, and then Wavy Jr. was from Detroit. He lives in Cleveland now. And that team did very good from Bowling Green, and Butch Comines, of course, who led the nation in scoring. So BG had a real positive name in our area from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake, as well as all of Ohio. So, and a lot of guys from Detroit, it was that place they went when Michigan or Michigan State didn't offer you right away, and they were just a very, very good conference. And Nate still holds the rebounding record in the NC2A for most rebounds in a game. So,
wow, that's dope. That's dope right there. So I know you mentioned you went to Bowling Green.
Yeah.
How did you get there, and what other schools did you consider?
Oh well, I had a lot of considerations. All of the local schools, I really wanted to go to Michigan State. Is really what happened, and they end up taking a guy from Dayton. And I guess we were holding out, and I didn't know it at the time, but his name was Rudy Benjamin, and he was from Dayton, and he was a guard that played for them. They end up taking, and I end up going to Bowling Green, and but the other schools, I had offers from, I don't know, 25 schools at that time, which was kind of unheard of. Whether it was Miami or it was all the MAC schools. I had a lot from Michigan State, not Purdue. I'm trying to think. Oh, Minnesota. I had interest. So I was kind of that mid-level, high major kind of guy that. The thing for me is for me to keep playing basketball, I need to be playing. Mm-hmm. So I went somewhere where I was definitely going to play. Mm-hmm. And as it worked out for me. My senior year, I shot 50%. I never missed more than 2 shots. That's just the way it was. You had to produce,
right?
And I learned that after my sophomore year, like I said, that you just had to produce to be on the court, and if you wanted to make a living doing it, you had to produce at a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I worked really hard, and it paid off.
Right. Yeah. So you, after your playing career at Bowling Green, you wound up in the Hall of Fame. So tell me, how did that go? Like from your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, how did you put that all together? And, just tell us a little story behind that, your thought process. And I know you didn't go there to make it to the Hall of Fame, but you did, which you deserved. But give us a little insight on how that all transpired.
Well, we were very our junior. Well, first of all, our freshman year we won the Mid American, and we lost to Al McGuire's first NCAA team. Um, we lost to them at Kent State. Then our sophomore year we played. I think it was 9 or 10 overtime games, which meant it was some kind of record that we played, and then our junior year we lost to OU at OU, and that was the game that Austin hit 61 points, and they beat OU like they stole something. Of which we had lost to them in the championship game because they didn't have a tournament back then, but we lost to them in the championship game by 1 or 2 points, and otherwise we'd have went. And Austin and I win the All-Star game, and I just told him, I said, "No, you wouldn't hit no 61 on me." I mean, we'd have been fighting for that happened. But we were that competitive. I was that competitive back then, but he was just a great player, and that pretty much sealed his number one pick status for him by the Cavaliers back at that time. So we've been friends for a long time. Austin is, he's a really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that said, you asked about the Hall of Fame. Well, I was just a regular student. I was above average student. Kept my head down. Did what I was supposed to do. I being from Detroit, we like to dance, and for back then, I could do what I could do, and I did it well,
Right.
and so I didn't have any problems socially. We just had had a good time and enjoyed it, and then when I got drafted, it was around the campus and all that. It was a big deal, but I was offered a graduate assistantship and all that other stuff, and I went back after I got cut, and I went back and got my master's degree right away, and the rest is just kind of history. I didn't, and I said this to Joe, so Keith. One thing I think in life, it's one thing to be recognized for that stuff, but really honestly, and I think I probably got this from my dad, I just think it's more important that people want to know you versus being well known.
Mm.
I never strived to be well known. I just thought it was important that people want to know you and want that kind of mentality. Because I just think that, because I used to, when I first started in athletics, I thought these guys were God. Well, I found out later that most of them were far from perfect people. So what ended up happening for me was I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do a lot of stuff, and most of those guys did. Well, I shouldn't say I did drink a little, but a lot of those guys were stay up all night kind of guys, and I never have a problem, with women and all that. So that was just a normal thing for me. But a lot of those guys did things, and some of them are in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I kind of saw the good and the bad.
Yeah.
But the bad part is something you take to your grave. You know, I just never thought I should tell what this guy did or what that guy did. That really wasn't my business, and I never thought much of gossiping or saying stuff about people that didn't represent them in a positive way. So I don't play that. I ain't that guy. So, and so, we just learned how to, keep your mouth shut, do what you're supposed to do, and keep it moving. And I got a call one day, and they said, "Well, you've been selected." I had no idea. I thank my coach. I thank my high school coach. I thank all the people because I didn't fully appreciate how they felt about me until then.
Mm, mm. Wow, wow, that's deep. That's deep. So where was you at when you got the call? Where was you at?
I was actually, think I was coaching. Yeah, I was you know what? It's been so long. It was
Yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I was coaching at Iowa, and it was just one of those things. And I got a call, I got a letter, and they told me what day to be there. And the sports writer used to be for Sporting News, was our beat reporter back then, and he spoke for me. And because he had interviewed us during those years.
Uh-huh.
He's very famous. He owned Basketball Times
Okay.
back then, and he actually presented me at the Hall of Fame, and so
Yeah, that's pretty dope that for it to come full circles for the both of y'all. You
yeah,
know, you a college student and he a college student, and you doing your craft and he doing your craft, and then you meet at the Hall of Famer and he speaks highly of you
Larry
Yeah.
Donald, that was his name, Larry Donald, Larry Donald.
at the ceremony.
Yeah,
That's
Larry
pretty dope.
Donald. He was the owner of Basketball Times, and he's from Fostoria, Ohio. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's pretty dope.
yeah.
So I heard you say that you picked the right school for you. And I want you to talk a little about that and also give some advice for these young people that's going through the same thing you went through and why you made the decision to go to Bowling Green instead of a high major. And a lot of these kids are struggling with that today.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a really good point, Coach. One of the things that I always thought was really important was how important it was for you to play. If it was, if it's really important for you to play, you need to consider being a big fish in a smaller pond.
Mhm.
If you have a tremendous sense that you can do this no matter what, then going to being a big fish in a big pond is okay. But
Right.
I think you have to make a decision early on, because what I thought was I could be a big fish in a smaller pond and I could get even bigger.
Mhm.
That's what ended up happening. So I think you've got to have a sense of awareness of yourself versus what others think, because I think that's really 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 important to your decision making. And a big part of even what I do now in mentoring is trying to make sure that people see the importance of these kinds of things, because you have to be a good fit, not just a great player or entity, but you have to be a good fit in the situation. And something I think has been drowned out over the years, that my dad really, really was impactful. So both of you guys know my dad was a Tuskegee Airman, and he was a military guy. I'm an only child, so all my brothers and sisters didn't get what I got, and I got tough love. So uh, the point being, um, you need to finish what you start. See, that was one of his deals. My dad would say, "Have you finished what you were supposed to do?" And to this day, I say it to my sons and I say it to young people, because you have to learn to finish what you start. And it speaks to the why you do it, and it speaks to uh, your resilience and your commitment to something. So um, I think I got that from my folks, growing up And then the other side of that is you become in my situation, you learn very quickly how to make friends, how to develop relationships, because if you look to the right or the left and there's nobody there, once you get somebody there, you really want to keep them there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's just human nature.
Wow. Well, you keep dropping nuggets, man, and I really
know.
appreciate that, man. And shout out to your dad being a Tuskegee Airman. I mean,
Yeah.
wow, hey, that's a lot of respect and a lot of love. And if you don't know, you should know. But that's a big part of our history and our culture, being African Americans in the United States, when they didn't even let us be in the Army, let alone driving uh, a plane
Right.
for in wartime. So that's
Well,
a big time shout out.
and the way he explained it, and it obviously it sits with me. He said, "Son, we had to fly in front of the white pilots that were actually flying the bombers, and we had to fly and protect them so that they can complete the mission, and that was our mission."
Wow.
And I kept thinking, and my dad was a 30-year custodian, head janitor at Redford High School in Detroit. And I kept thinking to myself, well, Dad, if you did all of this, why? Well, that was my introduction to discrimination and why certain things happen for people of color. And he did his best to explain it. And all of that. That's why I mentioned to you earlier. It was a difficult time, but things were changing at the time, the late '60s, and just a lot of really positive things for the society were happening. And he did his best to explain. He did his best in life. I mean, the guy was extremely talented, and I wish I was as talented as my dad. But anyway.
Yep. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for that shout out and that nugget.
Yeah.
So when did you first fall in love with coaching? When did you first say, you know what, I'm about to take this coaching thing and run with it?
Well, I wasn't when I got put on waivers, and then when I got released by Virginia Squires, I wasn't. It wasn't out of my system. Ball wasn't out of my system, and I know I wanted to be close to it. So having earned that graduate assistantship, I was able to be close to the team at Bowling Green and earn that, be able to earn my master's while I went. And I got so lucky because I stayed around. I learned from a lot of guys. Pat Haley, one of my teammates, Bob Hill coaching the NBA for a lot of years.
Bob Hill, is that
San Antonio?
Yep, San Antonio. Yep.
Yeah. Bob. Yeah, and he was a full-time assistant at that time. He left and then went to Pittsburgh with Tim Gerwich. He was his assistant. Anyway, we were there together, and I literally begged Eldon Miller to hire me at Western Michigan. This is a true story. I literally begged him. I was at a point where I wasn't going to play like I had been, and so I had to have a job, and so I became his second assistant at Western Michigan. And 4 years later, we went 25-2, and I was able after that to get a job at a Division III school in Chicago, Elmhurst College. But the coaching bug had bit me then, and I was just young, dumb, and thought I knew. And the one thing about becoming a head coach is your first job is the job that teaches you what you don't know. So when people talk about that, and the other thing that I'm really proud of, and this was pre Black Coaches Association or pre DEI time, there was no benefit of having John Thompson or the big name African American coaches then. So the people I had networked with and worked for were the people who helped me get my first job. I mean, I earned it the old fashioned way. So I was real proud of that, and I wanted to be a head coach. I didn't want cutting corners. I wanted to learn, and unfortunately for those guys that I was coaching, or fortunately, I was learning on the job, but I learned the right way.
So Eldon Miller, he used to coach Ohio State? Is that Eldon Miller?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We won 25, lost 2. We were 25. We were 10th in the nation that year. I was actually, we were in the room. He and I, we were having a meeting, and the athletic director came to the room. We were playing at Miami of Ohio, and anyway, he got the job. We won the Mid American. We played Virginia Tech at LSU, and then we came back and played in South Bend. We played Marquette, Al McGuire's team, with Butch, and they had a bunch of really good players. It was before Bo Ellis, but they had a lot of really good players on their team. Al McGuire did. And they beat us by 4. That year, Indiana won it. They were undefeated that year. And
I think that was 76, maybe?
yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yep,
I ended up staying a year at Western, another year. I did not go to Ohio State at that time for a whole host of reasons. And then I got the head coaching job at Elmhurst College.
Okay. So after Elmhurst, how long were you at Elmhurst?
4 years at Elmhurst. North Park was a big team. Jack Sikma had just left from Illinois Wesleyan and was in the NBA, 6'11", really good player.
Yep.
North Park won 3 national titles while I was at Elmhurst. They were really, really good. And the league was very strong. And Chicago basketball was huge then. Isaiah was in high school. Mark Aguirre was in high school. Eddie Johnson was in high school. It was a boom town in Chicago for high school basketball. So I was there at the D3 school. So I made a lot of relationships, and that helped me down the line. So I was there 4 years, and this job opening came at Florida International. And that was a year that they had the big snow in Chicago, and my wife and I really wanted to get out of that weather. So we, as it turns out, we packed up and took that job at Florida International. We didn't have a gym.
Wow.
We didn't have air in a basketball. I mean, we didn't have anything.
Wow.
And but again, culturally, there was riots in Miami. A guy named McDuffie had just gotten, killed by the police, and it was a lot of unrest in Miami at that time. So my timing for going in there was good as an African American person. And to make a long story short, the first 5 years, I won 68% of my games, and
wow,
we got off to a real good start. So then I had some bad luck, but it happens.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, should you go into a place with no gym,
Right,
and you win 68% of the first 5 years?
Yeah.
you did your thing.
you did something.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I was off to a really good start in my career because I really love what I did. As it turns out, that first year, my wife was pregnant. We had our first son. It was just a wonderful time. It was a tough time. I didn't make, I wasn't making, what the guy in Florida, the guy at Florida State and South Florida were making, but it was a good job and it was my program, and I got to, architect it and build it. And it was a great experience. And just real proud. Ultimately, my folks retired, moved down.
Oh,
So
nice.
we got them to have their last years in South Florida. Then they built me a gym. Just so happened that the first president of Florida International was a Bowling Green guy. His name is Chuck Perry.
Okay.
Dang.
Chuck Perry, he was the first president. And so I knew him from my playing days. But he was still very influential. And I don't know how much you know about him, but he was Jack Nicklaus's partner for
Mhm.
and he was the president of Golden Bear at that time, and he had been the president at the university, and so he still had a huge contacts. He made the phone call to get my gym built. So
Wow, that's big. That's big. That's
yeah, it
big.
was huge. It was.
Yeah.
It,
So you stayed at Florida International for how long?
9 years.
Okay.
Year 9, I was burned out. I needed a change. We had our second child, Michael, and I was just yearning for the Midwest again. And but we did what we could. I told you some bad things. We had an AD who was a New Yorker that, anyway, he went to the state legislator, said we could go Division I the following year. Well, he wanted to do it now. So he talked the school into going up, and he tried to get us to go Division I a year before we were supposed to. Well, that meant I had to put together a Division I schedule.
Mhm.
Well, I got a Division II team, and I got Division II money. So guess what?
Right.
He basically took me out,
Mhm.
and it just from a win-loss standpoint, I had to play catch up, and by year 4, it just wasn't possible.
So there you go again, Coach, trying to slip nuggets past me. So you mean to tell me you was the first Division I head coach at Florida International?
Yeah. Yes,
Isn't
sir.
that crazy?
Yes. Well, that was, and I mentioned it to Joe, Keith, but that was when John Thompson adopted me
Wow.
because he saw what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "Wait a minute," and he started supporting me, and he gave me home and home. He gave me television games. He gave me. He even set up a trip to Paris. They guaranteed us X amount of dollars, and it was so huge. The vice president AD said no, and that was it for me. I was like, this is not worth it. It was like $40,000, and we were going to go to Paris in the summer and play, and those administrators didn't want us to do it because it didn't have anything to do with them. We didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really need them.
Yeah.
And you know how strong Coach Thompson was
Oh
back
yeah.
then. So he had helped me just tremendously, and
Right.
which to this day I'm thankful for, because none of the other big programs would give me that kind of a break or help me that way. I mean, I got plenty of games, and plenty of people want to go to Florida that time of year. But he was instrumental in helping that way. So,
Wow. Well, shout out to Big John Thompson. You know, we all know that he's a legend in the game, a pillar. He stood for everything right and nothing wrong, and he was always a supporter of his culture and his people.
he really,
Yeah.
and I'm a definitely a recipient. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's glad to hear. So after Florida International, where do we go to next?
Well, this is year 9, and I'm at the point where I need to just get out of here for my own sanity and well-being. I'm still not 40 yet, so um, uh, Bruce Pearl had gotten some trouble with Illinois, and with
Hold on. Bruce Pearl in trouble?
Back then.
it, Bruce Pearl had gotten in some trouble with Illinois and over Deion Thomas and something, and so Bruce was taken off the road. To make a long story short, Iowa had an opening. Eldon Miller had finished his time at Ohio State and was at Northern Iowa. So he called Tom Davis and recommended me. And that's how I got to, in 1990, that's how I got to Iowa. And I was at Iowa for 22 years after that as an assistant coach, and then 5 years as a assistant to the athletic director.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So Bruce Pearl was at Iowa at one point?
I worked with him for 5 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bruce is a different character, very good coach, very, very good coach. But he's a different person. So people, and I think, and I might have mentioned it to you guys, that at some point there was a shift in the culture in the sporting world where things went from we to me.
Yeah.
And there was a much more self-promoting aspect. Black Coaches Association, guys were me much more back then at that time. So I think it just permeated. And Bruce became a character. I mean, he became a character because of what happened with Illinois and Iowa, and he capitalized on it. His first job, the AD came to Iowa and interviewed him on our campus.
Wow.
And but Bruce, listen, make no mistake about it, he can coach. He was
he can.
very, very good coach and communicator. He really is. I think there are many that would tell you he communicated so well. I think some people call it prevaricating, other people call it lying, but
Prevaricating.
That's what's up.
Bruce got some good stories.
So your 22 years at Iowa, you were there with Tom Davis and
Steve Alford. Steve Alford came in. We had a very ambitious athletic director. And what transpired is, and it wasn't Tom, it was Hayden Fry. This is the athletic director who let Hayden Fry go. And then he did not renew Tom, which was, anyway, he then brought in, Kurt was, he had already hired Kurt from Hayden's staff. And then he brought Alford in to try to make a splash. Well, quite frankly, it was a job that I think Steve wasn't ready for. And he stayed several, I think 6 or 7, I don't know, 8 years. I don't know how long he stayed. But he was clearly in over his head. And I think they finished 4th the year after I had left the staff, and they didn't get selected for the NCAA tournament. So normally, if you were in 4th place in the Big Ten, you were a shoe-in.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what's that quote you said? With your first job, you don't know what you don't know until you
exactly.
However that quote go.
Yeah. Well, you really don't know what you don't know. And that's just, I mean, we all want that opportunity. We all want those things, but when you get that first job, it's a lot more to it than you even know. And then after you learn that, then you're okay. But
Right.
initially getting through those first 4 to 5 to 8 years, it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Coach, do you think that I was just thinking this as you were talking? Do you think that you and Coach Stringer were the first male and female African American coaches at a university coaching basketball at one time? I never thought of that. Like, what other teams had a black coach coaching the men's and the women's at the same time? Because Coach Stringer was there when you were coaching them, right?
Yeah, she was the preeminent coach in America. She had sellouts. This is in the late 80s and early 90s.
My sister and them could not win there. The pink locker rooms, my sister still is haunted by that to this day.
I'm just telling you, she had attendance records that are still, well, until this recently, until Caitlin
Clark. Yeah.
Yeah, until then, she had all the records. I mean, and her recruiting was off the charts.
Them old Iowa teams, for the record, I'm going to say this: them old Iowa girls teams would have definitely beat these new Iowa girls teams. I'm going to say that for the record.
They had some serious talent. And
yes, they did. Nicole Tunsil and Tia
Tia
Jackson and Tony Foster and them. They were tough.
They really were.
Arnita Yarborough, Laurie Aaron.
All those girls could really play, and Coach Stringer was big time, and her husband was even more big time because he was a PhD in physiology. And for those who don't know, Coach Stringer has a special needs daughter that he really was Mr. Mom and the anchor behind that whole family. But unfortunately, the Stringer men had heart issues in their family. And I was on my way back from actually, I was supposed to go to family reunion, and he and I were supposed to have breakfast, and he passed the night before.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And that was a big part of why she left Iowa.
The Rutgers.
Exactly.
And Joe, and I want to just provide this nugget too, is that Coach John Chaney and Coach Stringer was at Chaney before that.
And then that's what I was.
Oh, there you go, Keith.
That's what I was gonna that was the last thing I was gonna say. Because he had just come out that year. We played Temple, and he was actually trying to talk her into coming to Temple, leaving out, coming to Temple. And then all this other stuff happened. That's the straight truth. That's what I was at the house. That's why I know.
Yeah.
With them. So, but yeah, Coach Stringer was, listen, that lady big time. I'm talking John Thompson, that level
on the women's side, for
on the
sure.
Side. I mean, she huge respect. Yep. So yeah, it was a good run. We had a good run. My wife likes to remind me we had a wonderful run. Our kids grew up without, a lot of, they didn't get shot. They didn't get shot at. They didn't get, it wasn't a lot of guys. Like I told Joe, Keith, there ain't a lot of street lights out there now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Coach, when you, after 22 years at Iowa, when you decide to step away from the game, or did you go somewhere else after that?
No, I did. First of all, I did step away. It was very hard, but I was able to whatever muster. You got to leave. This is over, and because it had become a big part of our lives, families' lives, and anyway, I went back to Michigan, my wife and I, and her mom. She took care of her mom until her final days, and we were there 2 years. I did teach junior high and high school 2 years while I was there. I did a little coaching, but not much. And then our oldest son went to Iowa, played football, played in 2 bowl games. And our youngest son went to South Kent, and we sent him to a prep school, and he went to South Kent, played for Raphael Chilius, and so he got the basketball. He's kind of the basketball royalty because he got to play against Durant and a lot of guys, and so he did real well at Southern Methodist. And what happened is we had a choice to move here or move where my oldest son lived, and that was in Springfield, Illinois. And it was Dallas or Springfield, and we've been here ever since.
Nice.
Yeah. My wife happens to work for George and Laura Bush at the Presidential Library and Museum, and she's almost finished her 10th year as as an administrator at the museum. So.
Wow. Good for you guys. Like I said, I was down at Southern Methodist University last summer. It's a beautiful place, man.
Yeah,
beautiful place. The sun just shines on that place.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. It's kind of a Notre Dame of this area. It's kind of like that. It's just there are a lot of wealthy people who go to school there, but at the same time, they do a great job of recruiting in this area. Football. Football.
Shout out to Eric Dickerson and Craig James, the Pony Express.
Yeah, it's got a big time history in football, and
big time history. Hey, well, Coach, you being a head coach and you finishing up as an assistant, do you have any wild recruiting stories, or is it a player you just missed on that you remember?
Oh, I missed on some great ones. Michael Redd comes to mind because I thought he would have put us over the top. I had recruited Ricky Davis and Dean Oliver, so we had a 1, 2, and we just needed a 3, or Ricky could have played the 3. So both of those guys played in the NBA. Ricky had a longer career than Dean, and then obviously Michael had a great career, played in the Olympics and all that. So that was the one I thought would have put us in a different echelon.
Right. Now, Michael Redd wound up at Ohio State. Dean Oliver, is that Georgia Tech?
No, Dean played for us.
Okay, Dean played for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ricky Davis.
Ricky Davis played for us.
Yep.
They committed in the 9th or 10th grade, so I had 3 years chasing them around, and that was quite the ordeal, quite frankly. They were great. Both of them were really good people. Ricky had some issues, but he's outgrown them now, and Dean they're both doing really well. Dean's son just committed to Iowa in football. So yeah. So
that's tough.
Ricky's family lives in Houston.
So if you compare, I know you can't compare the recruiting now because of NIL, but you don't have to say or tell everything, but there was obviously guys getting paid back then too. It was just a different form of fashion. And how did that work? And did you know, like say, if you was going against somebody else, did you know that they was getting a bag, as the kids would say these days?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there were schools that were known for closing deals at the end.
Okay.
Is what we called it. they're going to close the deal at the end. And when you went up against those schools, you could stay in there long enough to find out how they closed the deal.
Closed in. Mm-hmm.
Or you could move on. Well,
Right.
I moved on a lot because I didn't really want to, spin my wheels. Because at that time, we went after the top kids in America. Because we had come off Coach Davis had come off some wonderful years.
Right. Yep.
With BJ and Roy, and he had a team of 5 guys. All 5 of them were first round draft choices. So,
wow. Dang.
So there was a reputation that Iowa had. Coach Ravlin had recruited those guys, and then Tom came in as George went to Southern Cal. So we were still going after the top of the heap for most of my year. I mean, all of my years there. We had something unfortunate happen. Chris Street was a player that passed while we were, and that set the program back, and it really put things in perspective again. So coming back from that was a lot more difficult than anyone wants to admit. And that really hurt us because we had, I think Coach Davis had been 6, 7, 8 years straight to the NC2A tournament, and that just took the heart out of the program.
Right.
With that said, we did manage to pick it up. I was able to get Ricky and a few other players, and Gary was able to get Jeff Settles and all Ryan Bowen, top guy.
Settles.
Yeah. So we maintained for a while, but it was just really, really, it got tougher and tougher and tougher. And so I can only imagine now, and I think I know they just changed coaches, a guy from Drake who is an Iowa person and knows the traditions of Iowa. I don't think the 2 coaches that they had between Coach Davis and this young man had that sense that he has. They were all more about themselves than they were about Iowa, and I just think that you got to know the traditions at Iowa to understand, where it is and where it's been. And I mean, there was a time Coach Davis was at Iowa and Johnny Orr was at Iowa State, and Coach Orr was a great recruiter. He was a good, wonderful recruiter at Michigan with Campy Russell and all of those guys. And then he came to Iowa State and had this similar success. And people don't know he brought Flint, Michigan kids out there even when he was there. And then Michigan State got in there and broke all that up because they end up getting kids from Flint. So, again, I mean, I saw some amazing stuff over the years in terms of recruiting, including Ed Martin at Michigan. And what people really didn't understand about that is there was actually a gambling ring in the automotive plants. A gambling circle in the automotive plants that was being run in the state of Michigan, and it was run through the UAW and all that kind of stuff, and it was under the table, so people just didn't know. But as I understand it, because I don't really know, but I think that's how some of the funds got to those kids that played at certain schools.
Yeah. I can definitely see that too. I can see that. I mean, in our community, man, the numbers, man. Hey, listen, if it wasn't for us, it wouldn't be no lottery.
Exactly, because we, well, the numbers, the lottery turned the numbers into a national business instead of a cultural business.
Yeah, that's what they always, hey, man, they know what they do. They always do us like that,
So, but anyway, that was kind of the story behind that. But and even that got caught up with Michigan and got caught up. And so this NIL deal is, and it's a new chapter, and the coaches have to navigate it, and it's still work. They're still working things out. It's not finished yet, and it's still a wild, wild west kind of situation. But like I've told Joe, and I'll tell you and your listeners, I just think that the need for actual mentorship for young people has never been greater. And I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about women. I'm talking about women's sports. I'm talking about all of it. The mentorship is so necessary and so needed. If for no other reason but the young people's emotional IQ. So that's the one thing that I see that's missing, a missing component, because while there are rules no longer have the priority because people had learned how to skate them. So what I think we have to do is tell the kids the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so to speak, because the direction for them, whether it's WNBA or NBA, is not as smooth, straight, obvious a path as they might think it is.
Right.
And it never has been. But I think having people help them realize being a professional person is as important as anything to their time at college. And what they're doing is preparing themselves to be that professional for 40 or 50 years.
Wow, that's great. Hey, Coach, I want to take you back a little bit. I want to take you back to your days at Iowa, and I want to ask you, out of all your players there, while you were on staff, who underachieved in the NBA that you thought would be a bigger NBA player or a bigger star? I mean, I know you got B.J. Armstrong. He won 2, maybe 3 NBA championships, but who did you think that, like, wow, I can't believe I thought he was going to be a bigger NBA star?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I thought they all did really well. So I didn't have any that I thought underachieved. I thought the one I thought was Andre Woolridge, who did not get drafted and signed. I think he ended up having an agent that rubbed people the wrong way. With that said, he led the Big Ten, and he was the first guy to lead the Big Ten in scoring and assists. Not
Dang.
all the great players. Andre Woolridge was the first.
That's an awesome feat.
Yeah, well, he's from Omaha, and I basically, boy, he credits me for coming. So, but anyway, he was probably the best guy I'd ever coached or saw. I mean, he was coming out of high school. He was behind Jason Kidd, number 1, number 2 point guard in America. So the kind of talent we were talking about with him, and he was definitely that good. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. So I thought that was probably, of all the years that I did that, he probably was I was really just disappointed because he was a major good kid and good player.
Wow. Well, that's a good nugget. So everybody out there looking at some hoop, want to go grab some tape, some YouTube, look up Andre Woolridge at Iowa, man. Coach said he was the real deal. And Coach, another thing you talked about was how agents play a big part. You feel like he didn't have the right agent. How can an agent mess your draft stock up and mess things up for you when it comes to getting another job at the next level?
Well, and don't get me wrong, there are just excellent agents out there. But like everything else, there are guys that are wannabes. I mean, they want to be something that they're not, and they might rub this organization wrong or that organization wrong by saying stuff like, in order for us to do this, you got to pay us. Well, they can just say, kiss my you know what. And I don't know that to be the fact, but I know that happens. And so, and the other thing about agents, and it's kind of like being a coach, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, and I told you I'd get back to it, but agents need complete control. In other words, they need control of dad, mom. They need to have that. You need to trust them. They got to have total trust, and you got to do and listen to them.
Yeah.
And what happens is some people, feel themselves and think they know better, or think that this should happen or that should happen. Or, I mean, Coach, you've seen parents who weren't realistic about their children or whatever. So they end up transferring, or they end up wanting to leave, or they end up, and it goes back to that finish what you start mentality. But
Right.
I mean, you've seen that. So agents can be very influential, positively and negatively. So that's a really important decision. And understand, I never had a agent or never had relationships with agents. I just didn't, and I I don't know why, but I tried to get Andre a good agent, and he wouldn't listen. And I had him, had a guy, and but he chose somebody else. So, and that's fine. I didn't want anything out of it. I just wanted to make sure he took the right next step to get to that point. And
Absolutely.
that was all. I mean, and that's all I've ever done with any of them. And that hurt me because I really thought he was that good. I'm telling y'all. Woo.
Wow, I can't wait to do some research myself.
I know.
You got me jonesing a little bit.
Yeah.
So he was that good. I mean, he was the first in Big Ten history to lead the Big Ten in points scored and assists. Yeah,
The ultimate selfless player. If you can lead in points and assists, there's nothing you can say wrong about that player.
well, that's my point. He had the total game. He understood the game, and he played the game that way. So anyway, that part was probably the most disappointing for me as a coach. And what happens when you have relationships with these young men is that you become involved with them, and you can't really cross that line, but in some cases you become that father figure or that adult figure or that male figure, whatever you want to call it. You become that person for them, and you have to be careful not to, you don't really want to cross the line, but it happens. You just get involved with people.
That's cool. Hey, well, Coach, this is a family show, so we about to get into your family business.
Okay.
Where did you meet the missus at, and how long y'all been together?
I met her we were in high school, and she was actually a cheerleader, but her sisters were too. I mean, she's got a set of twins, and so all them girls was fine, man. They were up, and I was like, oh my God. It was just easy on the eyes going over there. It was 8 of them, and 4 girls and 4 guys, 4 boys, and the oldest was she was one of the original Marvelettes, because that's where those girls are from.
Wow.
From Inkster, those girls are. They sang with the Marvelettes, and then Florence Ballard was too, but she saved me. She helped save me, and her family helped save me from that whole attention world. There's a world that when you're 6'3", you play bad of attention, whether you want it or not, that you get. And a lot of people don't know how to handle it. The way but I stayed away from it as long as I could. And so we became friends. And to make a long story short, 52 years we've been married on September 29th, and 2 kids, 5 grandkids, great person. She pretty much completes me with all my imperfections. So we got running jokes that we hold between us, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it.
Awesome, man. That's great. Hey, well, guys, I'm telling y'all, this is a great story. Coach Rich Walker, Hall of Famer, Bowling Green, illustrious coaching career, started at Elmhurst College to Florida International, and then at Iowa. And it's a great story, man. Coach is a history of knowledge, and we're going to keep Coach coming back on. And,
yeah, he's a regular. He's a staple.
Y'all know this is Just Ask Coach, and what we do is we interview good people doing great things.
Well, I'll be very honest. I am really honored, and I'm really humble to be on. I thank you guys immensely. Any attention is good attention, but this is special. I was fortunate. God put Joe in my life through certification of life coaching, and it's just grown and grown and grown, which I think is what God wanted, and that's just my grounded belief. And again, I sincerely appreciate and thank both of you for this opportunity. It's really an honor to be honored.
Just Ask Coach.